Hi, welcome to Northern Clay Center's online teaching series. My name is Priya Thoresen. I do outreach with Northern Clay Center and I also teach university classes. So today I'm going to be talking about some of the ways that artists build connections between object experience and society. I've used this as both an online discussion board post for college students and for PSEO students who would be juniors and seniors in high school. But there's a lot of different ways that you could apply this to your classroom and your curriculum. So I'm going to start here with my first slide. Welcome to the classroom. This week we'll be looking at some of the ways that artists make connections between object, experiences, and society. So while traditionally art has been about the object, so you might think of an object as a painting or a sculpture or a vase, beginning in the 1990s, there was a movement of artists who began to put equal, if not more, emphasis on the kind of experience and social interaction that art can generate. Today, we often refer to this new genre as social practice or socially engaged art. To put it more simply, I think of it as art that has a job to do. To start out introducing this topic, I have a video here from a YouTube channel called This Lane Doesn't Exist. This channel has a few other videos on it too. They're all under 5 minutes. So it's just like a really quick snippet of information. And you could use any of that to go in a little bit deeper. But what I like about this one is it's really short and it does include a few ceramic artists in their introduction. So I introduced the topic with this, and then because we were meeting online and asynchronous, or online and synchronous, and then doing discussion boards later, I had them pick one of the following artists to research a little bit more, and then write a discussion post about, aiming for like 250 to 300 words. So after watching the This Lane Doesn't Exist video, just to help wrap your mind around this a little more, I had the discussions of what does this art look like to you? Or does it look like art to you? What are some of the things the artists in the video are thinking about? And does this kind of art have a monetary value? Or can it be something that's bought and sold? So when we look at social practice-based art, a lot of it isn't something that can be bought and sold. And they're thinking a lot about similar things or a lot about different things. One of the examples there is somebody that puts two people in a city and asks them to find each other. So if we think about what does art look like, it's probably not going to be that. But if you think about art a lot longer, and if you go with the idea that anything can be art, then well, maybe that is art. So giving you your examples of artists that you can have students research some more, or maybe you look at all of them together as a class over a larger period of time. Or maybe you give people like assignments of what they're going to work on. So here we have Holly Hannessian, Touch in Real Time. So Holly Hannessian did some research on neuroscience, and then she went out to a number of cities across the country, and she had her table set up at various events, and she would get a handshake with people. And so she would use that handshake to record their meeting and their interaction, and then she installed it in a gallery. So I think that this one is particularly like touching, I suppose would be a word to say, in our time of social distancing. So my next artist here is Aaron Toole. He is a veteran of the Gulf War, and I believe around 1991 he was out there. And I feel like he makes really positive work, although it is about war. So you might want to gauge the maturity level of your students a little bit. So what he does is he makes cups, he does a lot of projects with other veterans, and he doesn't sell them, he gives them all away. I was part of a project that he did at the ASU Ceramic Research Center. I was an intern for Garth Johnson there, and part of my job was to underglaze and fire all these cups that he'd left behind. So as you know, ceramics takes a long time to make. So he came and he made them and he did his project there, and then he left because he was just there for like the short exhibition. And then he came back for the opening. But when you make this kind of work, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that he gives away a lot of control over the final project. Whether it's because he's collecting imagery from other people and source material from other people like those photographs, or whether he's asking somebody else to finish it for him. So next artist also was part of the exhibition at the Ceramic Research Center, Aaron Hughes. And he also collaborated with Amber Ginsburg in the making of these cups. Aaron Hughes is a Iraq War veteran and a social practice artist. Amber Ginsburg is an interdisciplinary artist. So by that, I mean that she doesn't define herself by a single discipline, like I work in clay or I paint. So she works in a lot of different materials and media. and she helped him with making these cups. So what Aaron Hughes does is he has a performance where he thinks about whether he drank tea with the Iraqi nationals while he was there and whether he didn't, and reflecting on that experience of how taking the time to drink tea with somebody can build a connection. And if you're thinking about how maybe participating in something is different from watching a documentary, I'd say that I could watch a documentary about the Iraq War and forget it, but if I sit and drink tea with Aaron Hughes, I'm going to remember that experience. Aaron Hughes also is a veteran, so you might also want to gauge the maturity of your students, but again, I feel like this is a really positive project. Next one we have is Ai Weiwei. So he has this piece called Sunflower Seeds. It was at the Tate in London, which is one of the biggest galleries in the country out there. So this is a really big exhibition. It's in a place called the Turbine Hall. So you can kind of see on the picture the scale of this project and how big of a space he was able to fill. And all those little sunflower seeds are made of clay. So if you go to the Tate's website, which I have linked to, you'll find an article about the exhibition in the Turbine Hall, and also about 15 minutes of him working with ceramic artists in the town of Jingdezhen, China, and how he hired a whole bunch of people to produce this exhibition. Ai Weiwei thinks a lot about the role of the individual in communist China, and he has gotten himself in trouble before for critiquing the government. So here's a picture of some of the people that he hired to help work on this project. Last one here I have Yoko Ono, a piece called Mend Piece. Yoko Ono, you might recognize her name for having been married to John Lennon of the Beatles. She's also an artist. She was part of the Fluxus movement in the 1960s. And what the Fluxus movement really intended to do was break apart the boundaries between art and life. And they also used a lot of non-traditional art materials like collage and stamping and really low-class materials as well. And she was also really interested in giving other people instructions on how to carry out her artwork or how to be more creative. So this was a piece that's been going on for quite a number of years. So it's a piece that is shown in a lot of different iterations and versions over time. So this one here, it was in a gallery pretty recently. And so she invited people to come and help mend this broken artwork or these broken cups. And so there's some of the finished ones. And so she asked people to participate in this project and mend them and turn them into something else. So Yoko Ono, I'd say artists either are not big enough to have a website, they have their own website, or they have galleries that represent them and they do not have their website. So I found a video that someone had uploaded online and a gallery website or two, but beyond that, I wasn't able to find any specific work or words from her personally because she has galleries that represent her. So thinking about these artists and things that you could talk about for discussion, who and what did you learn about? What's the subject matter? What does art look like and what's the process? Who are the participants or audience for the finished work? Is the project ongoing? What are some of the logistical considerations that the artist might have to think about when planning this kind of work? If you are Ai Weiwei and you're trying to get I don't know how many thousand sunflower seeds to the Tate, that is a big logistical challenge. Would you want to participate in this kind of an art experience? Maybe you'd see Holly Hannessian out there with her handshake stuff and you'd be a little weirded out. What makes good art? And what makes a good participatory project or experience? So again, with this stuff, I tend to get a lot more summaries from students who are not used to thinking about art that much. But I think that you can still try to get some conversation going about it. And if you want to build on this lesson, or ways to involve it more in a studio project, you ask them to design a participatory project. You can think about where would it happen, who is the audience, what materials are you using, and what do you hope to achieve. Whether you have the ability to actually do this with your class or not, you can at least have the idea, and what would you do if you could. You could make a sculpture by mending or repairing something that is broken. And as something that's somewhat related, but not directly related to this project, there's a really good art and empathy video from PBS as the art assignment. And then I have on the bottom here, additional resources on artists who work on social engagement. So these are mostly clay people. Ceramics as something that you naturally interact with is well suited to this kind of work. So these people, they all have a website or a blog, but they don't all have videos on there. So I was mostly looking for videos for this lesson. And that is the end. Thank you.